Columbus was not the first. When Christopher Columbus reached America in 1492, other Europeans had already been there. Almost 500 years earlier, more than 1,000 years ago, when Europe was still searching for its identity, one people ruled the seas without maps or modern compasses: the men of the North. Explorers, traders, warriors, and sailors capable of crossing entire oceans guided only by stars, birds, and currents. Their dragon ships, the Drakars, did not only raid European coasts, they dared to go farther, into the unknown, toward lands no European had ever seen before. Welcome to Curioholics, Epic Chronicles, where every episode opens a door to stories that changed the world and nearly disappeared forever. If I told you we have solid archaeological evidence of Europeans in America around the year 1000, would you believe me? Stay until the end, because today we travel to Vinland, the land of vines, grasslands, and secrets buried for centuries, an epic chronicle that time tried to silence, but the earth refused to forget. If you enjoy stories that rewrite what we thought we knew, hit like now, so YouTube brings this episode to more curious minds like yours. Chapter 1: The Fortunate Mistake. Our story begins in the year 986 in Iceland. Bjarni Herjólfsson, a respected merchant, sets sail toward Greenland to reunite with his father. A routine journey until the ocean decides otherwise. A thick fog falls over the sea. The winds shift. Shadows swallow the horizon. With no points of reference, the Drakar is left at the mercy of the Atlantic. After days of uncertainty, the mist finally clears. But what appears is not Greenland. Before them lies a green, forested, gentle coastline, a land that matches nothing they know. The crew wants to explore, to hunt, to claim the timber. A Viking asks for nothing more. But Bjarni is not a conqueror, he is a merchant, and he has a mission. He gives the order, turns the helm, and leaves that unknown shore behind. Without knowing it, he becomes the first recorded European to sight America. The irony, his legacy is born from the decision he did not make. What Bjarni ignored, another Viking would turn into legend. Chapter 2: The Explorer. Years later, rumors of that land reach the ears of Leif Eriksson, son of Erik the Red. Leif is not only a warrior, he is methodical, observant, curious. He buys Bjarni's ship and decides to complete the voyage Bjarni never made. Helluland, the land of flat stones, cold, rocky, unforgiving. Markland, the land of forests, a priceless resource for the Norse of Greenland. And finally, Vinland, warmer, fertile, filled with grasslands, fishing, and fruits the sagas compare to grapes. There, they establish a camp to spend the winter. In Vinland, the Norse hunt, fish, and encounter indigenous peoples whom the sagas call Skrælings. First comes curiosity, then tension, and after that, conflict. The dream of a colony breaks apart. Leif returns to Greenland with stories of a land too rich to forget. Stories that become myth, then saga, and for centuries, doubt. Until, almost 1,000 years later, the Earth decides to speak. Chapter 3: The Archaeological Proof. For centuries, Vinland was considered a myth. Vikings in America sounded like romantic pride, not real history. But in the 20th century, a Norwegian couple decided to read the sagas like coded maps. In 1960, Helge and Ann Ingstad explored the Atlantic coast of Canada until they reached a small village in Newfoundland, Meadows. They began to excavate, and the earth awakened. The remains of 8 structures emerged, Norse longhouses of turf and stone, identical to those from around the year 1000 in Greenland. Then came the artifacts: a spindle whirl, a smelting crucible, nails, rivets, iron slag, pieces that confirm three truths. 1. Metalworking took place there. 2. Women were present. 3. This was a real settlement, not a temporary camp. Dating points to around the year 1000, and recent techniques place Norse activity in America in the year 1021. Meadows may not have been all of Vinland, but it was its gateway, and its existence is enough to rewrite history. The Vikings crossed the Atlantic and reached America 500 years before Columbus. Final chapter. Before Columbus, the echoes of the North. Even so, Vinland did not last. The settlement at Meadows was abandoned, perhaps in less than a decade. The climate, the distance, the resources, and above all, the resistance of indigenous peoples, the first documented European contact with America, was not conquest. It was a brief experiment, a whisper in the middle of the ocean. The story of Vinland forces us to rethink something fundamental. When we say Columbus discovered America, we tell the late version of a longer, more complex, and more human story. Before caravels and flags, there were dracars and longhouses, explorers who arrived, tried to settle, and left. But they left behind ruins, objects, and a powerful lesson. History is bigger than textbooks. Final question. Do you think that if the Vikings had formed lasting alliances with indigenous peoples, the history of America would have been different? How would our world have changed? I want to read your thoughts in the comments. If you're passionate about chronicles that rescue nearly forgotten chapters, subscribe and turn on the bell. See you in the next Epic Chronicle.